Anyways, long story short, I spent like $49 on Fortnite uh, this week, and I'm really disappointed in myself.
Which, by the way, if you're watching this and you're in Halifax, I have a show at Good Robot Brewery on Thursday. It's always a gem of a show. So come out, say hello, that sort of thing. A Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. This is how we do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. And Adam, it's funny, the amount of times where I'll get messages from people being like, hey, how do I get on the mailbag? And I'm like, you're doing it. You've reached out. This is a big step. You do have to reach out to us. We comb through all of the questions and comments every single week. We do our best to mix it up. Now, sometimes you're going to hear the same people because if you're a Patreon member, you get that Patreon bump and automatically get your message in there. Or at least so far, we haven't had to cut anyone from Patreon. I don't think our mailbags are specify, Scott. Our mailbags are getting heavy. So you can also reach out on Twitter, our Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast, and the Discord is always a happening place. Of course, that is now a Patreon exclusive, but has made the community, I feel like, tighter. There's constantly 10 people in there that we're going to get to a little later. There's an actual comment about it, but just it's a pretty tight community. It's cool.
It's good. Today, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, you're getting it much later than the Patreon's getting it. The Patreon gets it raw, unedited, right away. There's usually
sometimes too raw.
Too raw. Definitely, always too raw. We were raw dogging it for about 30 minutes before we hit record for YouTube today. So some real gems in that unedited stuff for Patreon. But the YouTube and the Spotify side, usually, because I do have, believe it or not, some editing to do, thumbnails to create, breaking news to shoehorn into a thumbnail.
Yes, that's right.
It usually follows behind a couple hours, but today it's going to be a little extra longer because I do have to run to the pharmacy and get a COVID test for my wife. So Patreon is going to be listening and watching immediately as soon as we wrap up here. And then I have to go do that before I put the rest of the stuff on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes. So there you go. Okay. Couple comments on the fact that we've changed the Friday show. We've renamed the Friday show to This Changes Everything. We might sometimes rename it to...
We may rotate the name
on it. Might be Breaking News. Might be I Can't Believe This Has Happened sometimes.
Listen, we're gonna have a very loyal listenership, and we're very, very lucky, genuinely, to have so mmany people turn us knobs on. We're just a couple boneheads, and the fact that so many of you follow along really is genuinely a beautiful thing. But we normally get about 1,000, a little over that, views on our Friday show on YouTube. This changes everything, and we hit 3,000 views. So
just triple
this changes
just
nothing,
a casual triple.
But the casual tripling of our viewership.
The stand-up triple. Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun with it and lean into it, but some fun comments and response here. Marcus Loves Watches, who has been with us since day one.
Marcus G.
Who for the longest time I thought it was Marcus Glove, but it's Marcus G Loves Watches, so I thought it was Marcus Gloves Watches. But it's Marcus G. Marcus G Loves Watches. Says, how dare you use a clickbait title to induce me to watch an hour of quality and thoughtful content? When I watch a clickbait video, I just want to watch 3 to 4 minutes of nothing burger news that everyone already knows about, made by casuals for casuals. So
love that slogan. By casuals for
by
casuals.
For casuals. Love it. It's so much more on the nose about what we are than I think our original tagline for the show was like the Die Hard show for the casual fan.
Yeah.
But by casuals for casuals, way
Oh,
more deprecating
so great.
and perfect. It just fits us. So there you go. And then John Mann also commented and said this may be the best show you guys have had that I can remember. Well done, guys. Love the chirps on clickbait too. So there you go. It's lots of comments like that. And I know we got lots of feedback and DMs as well, but those are just a couple examples. So yeah, we're gonna have fun with it and hopefully weed out the riffraff. I mean, views are good and all, but genuine community is so much better. It just
Agreed.
doesn't pay
100%.
anything. So
Yeah.
we're here for you. We love the grounds crew, though. This is good. Okay, on Twitter, Rob Lug DM'd us and said, Adam and Scott, in capitals, this changes everything. He says, haha, just taking a page from your guys' book, hoping to get on the mailbag now that I have your attention. It worked.
It's a good strategy.
It worked. It worked
well done,
so
Rob.
good. Yeah. Craig Counsell, who's highly sought after as a manager this offseason, wound up signing with the Cubs and is now the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball. What do you guys think about him taking almost double the next highest paid manager?
Okay, so a few things. I absolutely love this comment, Rob. I didn't know all that much about Craig Counsell. I mean, I knew he was a Milwaukee boy. I knew that he from Wisconsin, played on the Brewers, worked his way up through the front office there, became the winningest manager in Brewer history over the last 9 years, and was given permission to interview for other manager jobs. He had an interview with the Mets. He had an interview, obviously, with the Brewers. He had an interview with a couple other unnamed teams. He was sought after. And he wound up signing with the Chicago Cubs, a division rival, which did shake the Brewers when he let them know that he was. I know that there's a few quotes from Brewer management that was just like, "What? You're doing what?" But he had good reason. Listen, up until 2 days ago, when Craig Counsell was hired, the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball was making $4.5 million. To put this in perspective, the highest paid NHL coach was Todd McClellan at $5 million. There's an NHL coach making more than the highest paid Major League Baseball manager, which kind of shows you where managers have kind of fallen in the scheme of things in the baseball landscape.
It's because coaching is harder than managing, Scott. They need to rebrand.
They need to rebrand the name.
You're not a manager. You're a head coach. Just call yourself a head coach. Every other sport has a head coach. But then they got to take their jerseys because,
off too. The highest paid. Do you know who the highest paid NFL coach is? You obviously do.
Ooh, highest paid NFL coach, Sean McVay.
It is actually Bill Belichick.
Oh, that was my second guess.
At $20 million.
Okay.
So just think about that. Up until 2 days ago, the highest paid NFL coach was making more than 4 times the top paid manager in MLB. In NBA, it's Monty Williams at $13.5 million.
Monty Williams is the highest paid manager in baseball?
In the NBA.
Oh, I was going to say, I never even heard of Monty Williams. So that makes sense. That checks out. So the math works out.
For those of you who are like, well, what is Craig Counsell getting paid now? He is making $8 million a year, which puts him almost double the next highest paid manager in baseball.
Who is?
And that is a great question, Adam. Who is the second highest paid manager? I should have looked it up. Even as I started to talk about this, I was like, wow, I really should have a name for this $4.5 million manager. But yeah, $8 million, obviously almost tripling his last salary with the Brewers. The Brewers lost out because obviously the Cubs were prepared to go $2 or $3 million more than the next highest paid guy. So highest paid offer. Good for Craig Counsell, I guess is what I'm saying, to answer Rob's question.
Bruce Bochy.
There it is. Bruce Bochy. Well deserved.
There you go. By the way, just because
literally a Hall of Fame manager, like
this. This article lists college football as also being paid exceptionally high. Alabama coach Nick Saban is earning nearly 3 times the salary of Bruce Bochy with $11.4 million. That's crazy. College football
Think that
is
Bruce
so
Bochy,
popular.
a legend, comes out of retirement to be the highest paid manager and still is making so much less than everyone else. Like, good for Craig Counsell. Reset that line in baseball. You absolutely should be paying your top guy on the coaching staff.
Yep.
We can just leave it there.
All right. Is Craig Counsell any good?
Well,
As
I
as a
mean,
manager? I know like
he has the winningest record in Brewers history. Of course, 9 years is going to help you rack up the wins. The Brewers have been a very good franchise over that time, never being big spenders. They're a small market team, but they always compete in that NL Central. Yeah, he's
career
obviously
winning
thought to
percentage
be one of the best.
career winning percentage as a manager is .531.
Not too shabby.
John Schneider, who I think we can all agree worst manager in Blue Jays history, career winning percentage of .572. So
There you go. Give him 7 more years, and maybe he's the highest paid manager in baseball.
can you oh man, can you imagine that? John
But
Schneider?
Craig Counsell, kind of a similar story. Oh man. Well, kind of a similar scenario, right? Where he came up through the Blue Jays system, has always been a part of the Jays organization, very similar to how Counsell was always tied to Wisconsin and came up through the Brewer system. So, yeah.
Craig Counsell, significantly better baseball player though. 2-time World Series
Yes.
champion, NLCS
A
MVP,
much better baseball player than
Milwaukee
Schneider was.
Brewers Wall of Honor. John Schneider does not have the hardware to match. But yeah, managerial track record and progression, sure. Is good. I mean, anytime someone gets paid, I'm for it. I'm pro getting paid. So good job for Craig. Hopefully this sets the new high water mark, and a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So everybody else is going to have something to point to now and say,
Truly.
hey, I'm 70% as good as Craig Counsell, so I want $6 million or whatever. So
Baseball should be on par with the other major sports. Come on. Like, it really surprised me to see that they were paid so low in comparison to like the top coaches in other leagues. It's
for
wild.
sure. I mean, that's probably why they can't afford to buy like a suit to manage in, and they just have to wear a uniform.
Yeah.
It's probably a cost saving measure, right?
It's a cost saving, but they don't make enough to buy their own suits.
Make enough to buy their own suits. All right. Thanks for that one, Rob. Good question. Next one from Twitter. The real Blue Jays guy says, I'm so done with stupid ass front office. I can't believe they offered Matt Chapman qualifying offer. Watch him take it, and Atkins sticks with the worst third baseman possible again. Where do we start with this one?
This was a tough one, Adam. I didn't even respond on Twitter because I had to take a breath. I understand how frustrated some of the fan base is, and I think the majority of us are with this front office. But let's pump the brakes a little bit on some of this rhetoric. I mean, you can spend every waking moment tearing apart every little thing this front office does, but it comes across as ridiculous. It's called due diligence. This qualifying offer is nothing more than due diligence. Every team in baseball, 29 other teams, would have offered Matt Chapman a qualifying offer. Major League Baseball just bumped up what the qualifying offer is now worth, which is $20.5 million over 1 year. Now, if that qualifying offer is declined, which 100%, I have zero doubt in my mind, Matt Chapman, as the top free agent third baseman on the market, is going to turn this down. He is going to get a $100 million contract. He's going to get term 4, 5, 6 years. There is no way, as a Scott Boras client, that he is going to take the qualifying offer. I know there's these whisperings from some folks in the fan base who truly believe maybe Matt Chapman will take it and rebuild his value.
Well,
you know what? Good.
We had this conversation on Friday, and I took that stance of like, well, here's the reason why he might. And then as I talked myself through that, I also realized that like the reason why he might is also the reason why he wouldn't, because what it accomplishes, he can, it doesn't, anyways. Yeah, he's not going to take it. It's a free draft pick they're getting by offering this.
Yes.
There's no downside.
Yes. So he's expected. It's not like the Blue Jays aren't doing their due diligence. Like they don't stop talking. Like they've talked to Matt Chapman, and the way it's being presented is he is expected to turn it down and hit free agency.
If he want, okay, the only reason just for anybody that didn't catch Friday's show, the only reason he would take the qualifying offer is because he's like, okay, offensively I had a down year, I want to rebuild my value. Maybe I think on the open market this year I could get a contract of XYZ, right? 150 million, but if I rebuild my value, I could be pushing closer to 3 or whatever numbers you want to put out there, right? Rebuild my value equals more money long term, blah blah blah. That's the only reason why he would take the qualifying offer. But he could just still take a pillow 1-year deal anywhere else for probably pretty close to the same money, if not more, on a 1-year deal anyways. And even if he took the $5 million hit and only signed for a 1-year, $15 million deal because he turned down the qualifying offer, blah, 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 it accomplishes the same thing. It's a $5 million bet on yourself. And if he's going to bet on himself, he's going to do it. So
when somebody signs Matt Chapman, the Blue Jays now get a 4th round pick in 2024.
That doesn't get my dick hard, by the way.
No, of course not. It's just, if you're going to lose the guy for nothing, it's a nice little caveat you get to hang on to there.
It's better than nothing. I know it's literally better than nothing. They should coin that phrase. It's better than
qualifying offers are also based on the team's salary. So last year when they offered qualifying offers, their overall salary was less and they wound up getting a 2nd round pick. So because they're spending so much more money, they now need to get bumped down to the 2nd tier of qualifying offers, which would be the 4th round or somewhere in that area. Just for those of you wondering.
Qualifying offers cancel out, right? Like it's a net loss gain of players signed and lost with like if the Blue Jays go out and sign Shohei Ohtani, he has a qualifying offer.
Yes.
So the net would be the Blue Jays didn't lose any, like we wouldn't end up getting a draft pick at all if that was the case. If we lose Matt Chapman and we gain Shohei
Ohtani, it's a wash.
We don't get a 4th
round draft pick. And that's a great example.
That's
a great way of looking at it, Adam. That's a really good way of looking at it, is now these other players with qualifying offers are not off the table for the Blue. It's a wash if they wind up deciding to go down that route. They're not actually losing a draft pick. So they're the full list of players to receive a qualifying offer this year: Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Nola, of course, stud pitcher with the Phillies, right? Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, Josh Hader, Matt Chapman, and Sonny Gray.
None of those guys are taking qualifying offers. 0 of them sign, I would say.
Oh, they're all going to decline it. Now, this is interesting. The players who didn't receive a qualifying offer that were on the bubble: Oscar Hernandez, Jorge Soler, Rhys Hoskins, and Mitch Garver, all 4 of which the Blue Jays are going to have interest in. So I think it is going to be advantageous for the Blue Jays, knowing that some of these big boppers, the home run hitters, something that they lacked in 2023 and will definitely have interest in. Some of these guys don't have a qualifying offer attached to it. Good news.
Notable here, because when you read that list and you read Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., not on that list, ineligible for qualifying offer.
Interesting.
Part of his contract, I think, in which bought out his RBers and stuff that he signed with the Jays years ago. Yeah, he's ineligible for a qualifying offer. So I'll link to this article here on MLBTradeRumors.com. This is from November 2nd. I'm not going to read the whole thing now, but yeah, the Diamondbacks were thought to be facing a decision on outfielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr., but Nick Picoro of the Arizona Republic reports Gurriel's contract prohibits him from receiving a qualifying offer. So
some of those international free agent signings, man, you can do some funny things with those contracts. You'd never get away with a player that you drafted or a free agent on the open market. So I guarantee that's what that was.
So yeah,
Lourdes was a international free agent. Yeah,
and kudos to his agent though for putting that clause in the contract, because I mean, he I think stands to sign a reasonable contract in free agency.
Lourdes probably gets a 3-year, $60 million deal after last year. Maybe probably not quite, but at least $345. You know, he's probably he's a $15 million player now.
One thing I always hear about, we talked about it so much during the CBA and the lockout, was that the players want to get rid of the draft pick compensation tied to qualifying offers because agents feel, the union feels that lowers their value on the open market, right? Oh, I can't give Shohei $500 million because I also would lose a draft pick,
4th round draft
so pick. I can only afford to give him $400 million. Like I can't give Lourdes $20 million a year because I'm going to lose a draft pick. But if I could get away with signing him for $12 million, I'd lose the draft pick. Yeah, that's okay. I just don't buy that that's an actual calculation from any front office. I don't know who's looking at Blake Snell and going, yeah, I'd like Blake Snell, Cy Young fucking winner on our team next year. Ooh, but then we'd lose a 4th round draft pick. Can't do it. Can't pull the trigger on Blake Snell.
I think if an organization's gaggle of khakis, right? They gather their gaggle and they target a guy who has a qualifying offer, that all goes into the thinking. Like, you're not going to lose your target just because you might lose a 4th round draft pick, right? Like,
do you think that's not how
winning teams operate.
Do you think one of the khakis raises a pant leg and is like, but sir, and then just like lists all of the drafted players in Major League Baseball history that were drafted with a conditional draft pick that went on to be something good? And they're like, but sir, Craig Counsell in 1997 was drafted by the Brewers with a conditional draft pick, and he went on to blah, blah, blah. And just like listing all the reasons why we can't afford to lose this conditional draft pick. That'd be hilarious. That's a good scene for a TV show.
Mating dance of the khakis. Yep. He lifts a leg and starts giving out.
I just like to picture. I like to picture the sleeve as like of the pant leg as like opening and closing, doing the talking.
Right.
All right. Well, we're off the rails, so this is good. We've
first time
sifted through
the riffraff. This never happens to us.
Everybody new here. Be patient. This is not our typical show. We're usually much more straight-laced than this. Okay. Couple comments that made me laugh over the weekend. Mish on Patreon. We were talking about prospects on MLB Mondays yesterday. And Damiano Parmigiani, one of our guys to be excited about. And Mish says, I'm kind of excited about Damiano too, .. Hashtag Cougar alert. So Mish
Hey,
is thirsty for some Italian
he's
Parmesan.
he's a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking dude. Hey, if we're gonna lose Kevin Kiermaier,
Yeah, at
no.
least give me Damiano.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there you go. Oh, by the way, speaking of Cougars, I mentioned, I don't know if this was on a Patreon episode or where I mentioned this, but I mentioned a childhood crush that I had on Deb Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
And then we did get in the aftermath of that, some requests for a top 5 list of Adam's TV MILFs from my childhood. I feel like the term MILF is degrading though, so
yes,
I don't feel comfortable calling this a TV
MILF,
MILF
list. Yes.
Oh, tangent, sidebar. Started watching Shoresy. You watch Shoresy?
Great.
Like spin-off of Letterkenny? Okay.
Yeah, I love Shoresy.
Okay. My brother recommended it for me to watch with my kid, 12-year-old. She loves hockey. He's like, she'd love it. The most vulgar show I've ever watched with a 12-year-old. The whole first episode talking about. Anyways.
Well, you told me you tucked her in and you called her Shoresy, and she loved it.
She does love being called Shoresy. She's came out of the. I've lost Scott.
Let that be my nickname.
Yeah. She was coming out of the dressing room on Sunday, and I called her Shoresy, and then one of the moms laughed as hard as I've seen any of the other hockey parents laugh. So I was like, oh, that person watches Shoresy for sure. Anyways, Shoresy has the title character has a thing for older ladies. And the way he talks to that older reporter lady and how he'd be so good to her.
Yeah.
It's so like
so fun.
Such a contrast of his character to see him talk to her like that. So I thought something like that. Like this will be my list of TV moms that I would be so good to. I would be so good to. So there we go. We got past it. It's no longer a MILF list. It's a TV moms I would be so good to. Unbelievably good to. Anyway, so I was going to do a top 5, but I came up with 11. So that'll be a Patreon exclusive. I got my list right here. Ooh, sneak peek. Don't look too close. Don't pause that. So I got a list of 11. One I'm not sure actually qualifies. I don't know if she had kids, if her character had children in her role. So despite being a wife and a very lovely lady who I would be very good to, unbelievably good to, I don't know if she technically is a mom.
Qualifies. Okay.
So anyways, that's something to look forward to. That'll be a Patreon exclusive later this month. So I've got my list. I just got to organize them in order now. And that's, I mean, ranking celebrities is one of the best ways to spend your time.
List of TV moms would be so good to.
Be so good to. So it was actually a really fun list to come up with because I had some real nostalgia in the most inappropriate of ways going over the list of possibilities. So there we go. There you go. So hashtag Cougar Alert. Next one, Alex. This one made me laugh really good. Alex on Patreon says, best thing about this show, referencing the unedited raw version, which is just the literal recording from the Zoom meeting, no graphics or anything. It's just you and me on a Zoom call. So he says, the best thing about this show is that I can listen and watch at work, and it just looks like I'm on a Teams call, one where I participate very little. So
I was fucking saying before when you ran this past me, that made me laugh so hard. It made me laugh just as hard the second time. It's
great.
The best backhanded compliment I've ever received.
Great. Actually, you know what? Here, Alex, since you made us laugh, this one's for you. Go ahead, take your AirPods out, and we'll just say, what do you think of that, Alex?
Alex, where are you at on Project A plus B?
Can I get that TPS report by noon? Okay. Deborah from
Patreon.
Let's get back to it. Deborah from Patreon Honestly, finding the walk-off pod and community around it has been one of the highlights of my year. Such a great community and vibe. The first non-parents of my kids' friends and non-work friends I've made in years, sending you all the best vibes and karma that I can.
So nice. Such a nice message.
So nice. Lovely. Um Deborah is a part of our $25 watch
Yes,
party
she is
tier on
the
Patreon.
top tier.
Also with Mish. Hashtag Cougar
Mhm.
Alert. So
Mhm.
we have to find a way to provide value for Deb and Mish.
And Brian.
And the others.
And
Yeah, Brian.
yes,
And
yeah,
there
you're
are
like, we
two
don't need to
others.
name them all.
There are two others that are in that tier that just haven't joined us for a Zoom yet for a game, but we do need to find a way to provide value for those folks during the off season, as there's no Blue Jays games to watch. So Scott and I are putting our heads together. I just want to let you guys know we appreciate the support, and we are going to try and come up with a creative solution to
We
keep
should have
you
a
from
walk-off Christmas party too.
being
I don't
sad.
know.
Ooh, here we go. I
Ooh.
like it. Walk off Christmas party. Scott's headlining. I'm opening. Zoom comedy. It's 2020 all over again. I already know, Scott, we're going to get comments saying you guys should do a comedy show on Zoom. So just brace for that.
Yeah.
Brace for how we can politely say no thanks.
I never need to do another one of those again.
I feel like I'm chewing on tinfoil just thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right. Ian, also original gangster in the grounds crew, day oneer for sure, says, so glad you guys and Nene Takes are finally getting together. Match made in Blue Jays heaven. So
yes, we're very excited to have Nene on the show. That's going to be Thursday. We will release that Friday morning as the Friday episode, or the This Changes Everything episode. Nene is honestly one of the best baseball minds that I've randomly found on Twitter. Normally, Twitter is just a cesspool, but this kid, man, he is such a good writer, and the way he views baseball and digs into the extra curricular side of the game. When I say that, I mean like all of the deep stats. He's really good at he does prospect lists as well. So he's really good at like evaluating talent, being able to decipher and look at numbers. And because we like Adam, we see numbers and we're like, ooh,
how many
not really sure
gold
what that
gloves
means,
does he
but I do
have,
know
though?
that's a good number. Yes.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. So we're sitting down with him Thursday. We'll be recording that one. That'll be up on Patreon right away. And then we're going to release it Friday as the This Changes Everything. The change for this Friday, by the way, will just be that it's you and Nene Takes instead of you and me.
Yeah.
That's the change.
Basically will be the change.
No, it'll be good. If you're on Patreon, by the way, get your questions in. If you have anything specific, there'll be a post up. By the time you see this, there'll be a post up on Patreon that you can respond to, or again in the Discord, drop your comments there or questions that you have if you want something specific addressed by Nene Takes. So there you go. Lots to look forward to. A lot of talk. This comes from no one in specific. This comes from the collective gaggle of Blue Jays fans. A lot of talk about the Gold Glove Award, it being flawed, and Fault on Cargo gets penalized for being utility. That's an autocorrect. That's Dalton Varsho.
Yes.
Dalton Varsho gets penalized for being utility. Played too many games in center field, so didn't have enough games. Was he a left fielder? That was his default position.
So he was nominated as a left field Gold Glove. Everyone, even when he was nominated, basically called him losing because he did move around the diamond too much. And I know we were kind of talking about this, Adam, before we hit record, and both of us kind of were. Our sentiment is, in today's baseball, in 2023, major leaguers have been stripped of their specialty. There isn't really a specialty player anymore who has one position. You know how rare it is to be like, this guy only plays second base? It's pretty rare. Look around the
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jays diamond. Every guy plays two or three positions. So now you're going to punish them for doing that when the awards come out. It's
Yeah,
so
like if
counterintuitive. I mean, it's very baseball. It's very Major League Baseball, but it's so stupid.
yeah, like I think we just need to have. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be someone out there who's like, center field and left field are different positions, and you
Yeah,
need to have a
they are.
different skill set in each one. And like, yeah, you're absolutely, almost certainly right, but we need to just lump them in together and be like, three outfielder Gold Gloves. If they're all center fielders, so be it. If it's a guy who
Mm-hmm.
played half in left field, half in right field, and 15 games in center field, so be it. But like, these were the three best outfielders this year. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
already do that for the All-Star game,
Yeah,
right? Like,
legit.
you get a catcher, a first base, a second base, a shortstop, a third base, and then you get three outfielders. They're not distinguishing selections to the All-Star game based on, oh, no, we can't have Aaron Judge and Mike Trout because we can only have one center fielder at the All-Star game. Like,
And let's be serious. It's not like doing this would diminish the sanctity of the Gold Glove Award. Like, if there's
yeah,
ever been an award given out in baseball that is questionable at best, it is the Gold Glove Award. And we were talking about this on MLB Mondays on the Patreon exclusive of just how ridiculous it is that is it DRS they're following? Like, is it defensive run saved? Is it errors? Is it because if you start going around all the different winners, it's like none of the stats
yeah,
mattered.
there's no
They
common
changed which
thread
stat
to
mattered for
everybody.
each position. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I mean, I grew up watching hockey. I don't really um follow it as much
Used to.
as I used to. But one of like I can't remember what it is now. If it's the Vesna or the Jennings or what. It's named after some old white guy. But it's like award for best goalie for
Yeah,
the
Vesna.
season, but it's just based on like, oh, this guy had the best goals against average. He had a
Mm-hmm.
qualified number of games, like he played enough to qualify. He didn't have one game and he got a shutout, so
Yeah.
he wins. But he played enough games and he had the best goals against average. That's your award winner. And it's like, I just like black and white, that sort of thing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this guy had the best batting average. He wins. This guy had, like whatever. Even if we want to argue about DRS isn't as good as UZR, isn't as good
Yeah.
as fielding percentage, isn't as good, like whatever. We can have that. Like those would be fine conversations to argue over. But when it's like, no, these guys all win because they had the best DRS, and then this guy won because he had the best UZR, and then this guy won because he had the fewest errors. It's like,
Which what this year's Gold Glove winners looks like. Like,
yeah,
that was the one thing looking across all the Gold Glove winners. I'm like, there is no rhyme or reason. It's not like they're
yeah.
zoning in right on one stat. It's just like, I don't know.
I think it's like, it's a weird award where it's like partially based on managerial votes and also partially based on like data. And it's
Yeah.
just the gray area awards is so
Oh, they're so
dumb.
dumb.
So dumb. So dumb. Um yeah, so dumb. Anyways, it's dumb because like money is on the line because like these are factors in arbitration and contract negotiations to be like Matt Chapman is going to get some extra money this year based on the fact that he's a 5-time Gold Glove winner instead of a 4-time Gold Glove winner, or 4 instead of 3 or whatever. Like all these awards, right? Like get pointed to as, hey, I'm one of the best defensive third basemen and here's my hardware to prove it, as opposed to, hey, I've been a top 3 finisher as a defensive third baseman my whole career. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing of home run milestones, right? 501 is so much more impressive than 499, but
Yep.
501 and 585 are the same.
They're the
So,
same. But truly.
Okay, last one we'll get to here, and then we're out of here. Is Johnny on Patreon says, it's too bad the Jays are all set for pitching and need position players so badly in a year where there's excellent free agent pitchers, but poor free agent position players. It's almost like the Jays brass didn't do their due diligence and look ahead to consider the position they'd be in for future free agent class years.
See, this is how you pick apart the front office, right? You zone in on something legitimate that is an actual problem and you make sense of it, right? Instead of
We don't have
picking on a
to agree
qualifying,
with
instead
it,
of picking
but
on a qualifying offer. Yeah, like, yeah, there is there's definitely pieces out there that would bolster this Blue Jays lineup. It's definitely not the deepest free agent class we've seen in the last few years, especially on the position player side of things. The pitching side looks really good. And
looks great.
who knows? That's the thing with a deep pitching class is it is going to also allow the Blue Jays to get creative if that's something that they choose to do, right? You never know these high-end pitchers, how much they're going to be getting. The bar is always set high when it comes to starting pitching. Maybe the Jays have a scenario where they go out and sign a lesser pitcher because it's going to lower the money, right? And you can move a guy like maybe Kikuchi and go deal from an area of strength. I don't know. I'm just saying that there is definitely some creative ways around this bump in the road. However, Johnny makes a really good point, right? Like, you would hope that this front office, and again, I'm just so frustrated with Atkins right now. I think most of us are. So it is easy to look at him and be like, did you even look 2 years down the road? Like when you started to build this in 2021 and recorrect, and now you're, but
I mean,
as Jays fans, we don't have a choice at this point. It's
no,
Atkins
and
Shapiro at the helm. And I'm not going to stop cheering for the Jays because of them. You can do your thing, but
okay, so I acknowledge that this is a more valid gripe than saying, how dare you give Matt Chapman a qualifying offer? He's the worst third baseman in baseball, literally like a day after he won an award for being the best defensive third baseman in baseball. So kind of hilarious there. Maybe it was ironic intentionally. But I still don't agree with this of like, you have to make moves for today. And like, if this wasn't the approach for the last 2 years, can you, with a straight face, imagine Ross Atkins coming to a press conference and saying, well, we're building our team for the free agent class of 2024. So we know there's going to be pitchers available. So that's why we're going to go into the 2023 season without Chris Bassett, without Gary Gossman, because 2 years from now, that's when we're going to get Blake Snell and Aaron Nola. Like, it doesn't
and
really work like that.
When you start playing that game too, you can really burn yourself, right? Because it's not always up to the organization as to who they get in free agency. It obviously relies a lot on what players want to go where as well. And this is why players work so hard to get to free agency, so that they do have that choice, so that they do get 3 offers from 3 different organizations, that the money all looks pretty similar, and they actually get to pick the quality of life and make those sort of decisions. What schools do they want to put their kids in? What community fits best with their values and where they want to be, right? This is why guys want to go to free agency. So I know that the Blue Jays fan base always winds up getting tied into some of these big free agent signings because the Blue Jays have money. There's always that, the amount of times Scott Boras has been like, oh, there's a secret team out there. And then later it comes out it's the Blue Jays. It's like, was that ever true? Or are you just using us as leverage? So to put I guess what I'm saying is to start doing the math 2 or 3 years down the road based on the strength of free agent the free agent class in the areas of need that you may perceive you have at that time, it's you can almost out checker yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
wind up really screwing yourself over. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it
Not
feels
that there's
like
not validity to what Johnny's saying, because obviously you should be aware of when the free agent classes are stronger or weaker in whatever
you
areas.
also can't like bank on the fact that like Blake Snell was going to be a free agent at this point. Like so many things can happen where, oh, right now there's you know a dozen really good pitching options. Anything could happen last year or the year before where they just signed an extension or they
Yeah.
got traded and signed a deal, and now all of a sudden this free agent class is not only shallow on the position side but also on the pitching side, and it's just a shallow class. So I also don't like the idea of drawing that line, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Johnny. I'm just saying my interpretation is I don't like just distinguishing between pitching and position players. I do, so I don't like the idea of that from a due diligence standpoint. So I'm personally not going to use that as a, if we're doing a pros and cons list and how do I feel about Ross Atkins, for me, that's not part of the equation. Um, I'm not going to fault him for that. If that was the case, I'm not sure it is, even though it appears to be. But I do think things like looking ahead to future free agent classes should be part of the due diligence when looking at your own specific internal options, namely like a Bo Bichette, right? That I think for sure needs to be part of the equation when you're going, okay, we got 2 years left of Bo Bichette. Are we going to offer him a long-term deal? Are we going to try and find something internal? You have to also look and go, okay, he's a free agent in 2026. Who else is available at shortstop if we let him walk? And if if Arjun Namala isn't ready yet at 20 years old, right? If Addison Barger isn't the replacement at shortstop, what are our options in free agency? You can still get things done via trade, but it is very shallow in Bo Bichette's free agent class at the shortstop position.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do think that should be a factor in there. Like they should be aware of that, and I'm sure they are.
Yes.
It's like, oh, when he hits free agency, we saw Carlos Correa and the Corey Seager and Javier Baez.
Yeah.
There was 7
shortstops
that were all like top 10 shortstops hit free agency at the same time.
While Trey Turner is like, yes,
right.
Let them all go, and then I'll be the lone super stud the next year. Right. And it worked out. Like if you look at it.
Yeah. And now Bo Bichette's going to be in that same boat where, okay, there hasn't been a elite option on free agents.
In his prime, young guy. Yeah, exactly.
All by himself. Like Bo Bichette's going to make so much money in free agency if we don't lock him up.
Yeah.
Because, he's going to be the only option, and there's going to be 5 or 6 teams who are now thirsty for a shortstop. We haven't had a good shortstop in 5 years. Blah, blah, blah. There's been, we lost out on Trey Turner. We lost out on Carlos Correa. Francisco Lindor is getting old, and we need to replace him. And now the Mets are like, hey, Bo Bichette, come to New York. Here's $400 million. Like, Bo Bichette is going to get paid a lot of money.
He's going to get paid big. And listen, honestly, we should be really excited about the next couple of years. We all know development isn't linear, but my goodness, age 26 and 27, that does tend to be the prime of a lot of these high-end players because they start so young. Bo Bichette's been in Major League Baseball since he was 20 years old. He's been playing 5 years in this Blue Jays uniform, coming up on the final 2 years of his control with the organization. He's a free agent at the end of 2025. And I'm excited, man. Age 26, 27 years. Hell yeah, give it to me. That's going to be great to watch. Bo Bichette already took that next step this year, becoming a league average defensive shortstop to go with his incredible batting prowess. I'm hopeful he takes another step. I mean, we don't know for sure, but
yeah, me too. Pitching solutions. Solutions to the way that this roster is constructed, having a need for position players and an abundance of pitching options as Johnny puts it, in a year in which free agency is stacked the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you mentioned the idea of like, maybe you flip Yusei Kikuchi. Ryu's gone. I mean, not gone, but he's not under contract anymore. Do we bring him back?
Nope.
I mean, so there like are
Maybe, but
we still probably need to sign a free agent pitcher. Like we need a fifth
there's
guy.
also there's also a very deep bullpen going on right now in Toronto, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that a guy like Trevor Richards or Jimmy Garcia very well could be movable after the way things shook out over the last year. I mean, Eric Swanson, a high end back end of the bullpen piece. Chad Green is back there, high end back end piece. Jordan Romano.
Um, how much better would you feel about? Okay, let's imagine a future in which we don't re-sign Ryu. Just the decision's made. He's old. He wants too much money. We can get better value with a younger guy. Blah blah blah. Whatever reason, we don't bring Ryu back. Yusei Kikuchi is packaged in a deal with Santiago Espinal for cash considerations. Whatever. Kikuchi's gone. Ryu's gone. We've got Barrios, Gary Gossman, and Chris Bassett. How much better do you feel about the prospect of Alek Manoah and Ricky Tiedemann fighting for the fifth spot if Chris Bassett is our number 4 and we went out and added a Blake Snell or a Nola?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
please.
I feel like if you've
Aaron
got
Nola would
4
make
studs,
this. Yeah.
you can burn a spot on maybe Alek Manoah takes the job. Maybe Alek Manoah finds it again, right? And if he doesn't, you know, okay, well, every 5th day we suck, but 4 times in a row, we got legit dudes on the mound. So my point is, I don't think we should write ourselves off as being suitors in the pitching market, even though it feels like we're set at pitching. I think, you know, all of a sudden you trade away Alek Manoah and Yusei Kikuchi, you bring in Juan Soto on the other end of that deal. Now you got Juan Soto and you're in need of pitching. So I don't know. I'm just getting horny here. So this is it's gonna be a fun free agency. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see this play out.
Yeah, man.
I know you have one more from Trev
Patreon
you wanted to get to. Before we do, and we're just on this topic of free agency, I saw one as I was doing the notes this morning from Mish, #CougarLife, who had a comment about the Shohei Ohtani free agency because yesterday on MLB Mondays we figured late December maybe he'd sign, and she just made an interesting point that like he probably already has a number in his head of what he's worth. He probably already knows where he wants to go, and he's just waiting for the team he wants to go to match that number he's looking for. And if that happens early, I mean,
sense.
she's making the point like he doesn't strike her as the type, and I don't know how often her and Shohei Ohtani hang out, but it doesn't strike her as the type to like make things linger. Like, and he could be quick, decisive. I don't remember how
he really
when he was posted from Japan. Do you remember how long that process was? Was
I don't remember, but that is interesting. If someone in the grounds crew can do the math here,
do the work for us. Yeah. But you know, if the Dodgers offer him $600 million, why wouldn't you just take it and say, okay, let's get to work? I don't know. Could happen. Valid point. Okay, Trev.
So this last question is from Trevor in Patreon, and this is a really fun question that I decided we'd save till the end so that all of you can answer as well. So go ahead and fill the comments up, and maybe we'll revisit this next mailbag and kind of.
I'm going into this blind, by the way. I haven't seen this message.
Adam's completely blind on this.
I'm scared.
So he says, "Here's a mailbag question for you, boys. Where does the 93 team stack up against the greatest lineups of all time? Whamco, which is Winfield, Alomar, Molitor, Carter, and Olerud, definitely has its place amongst the top guys hitting in the American League, are all on the same team. It will be great to hear your thoughts." Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible offense. I don't know if there has ever been a better Toronto Blue Jays offense. I feel fairly confident saying that. Now, where does it rank in the history of baseball? It's probably a top 10. It's probably a top 10 offense. I don't know. I don't know if it breaks top three. I mean,
Uh,
and it depends
I
how far you're going back because you start to get into like Murderer's Row. And I mean, the Yankees have had so many
yeah.
dominant lineups throughout baseball. Um, and you don't need to go that far back, even, like they had that run in the 90s where you're just like, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
Yankees are officially the evil empire.
Yeah.
Like,
Um. I got to do some real work on this. This is too much to
yes.
think about going in blind. But yeah, for next week,
Yeah.
I'll have a ponder. My
So
gut
let us know.
reaction.
Drop it in the comments. Where do you folks feel Whamco lines up as an offense in the history of World Series winning teams?
Okay, hold on. Timeout. World Series winning teams. Okay, that's an important distinction because there's been a lot of offensive juggernauts who have not won the World Series.
Yes.
Okay, that makes it easier to sort through.
He
But I'm
didn't add
thinking,
that. But let's zoom in
okay, well,
the
that's going to bump
microscope
them
a
up the
little.
list because I mean, you talk about going back, right? Like Yankees of the pre-World War II era and whatever, right? Like before jerseys were on uniforms kind of time frame, right? Um, but I'm looking at like recent history,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just looking at like on paper some of the Atlanta Braves,
Yeah.
the LA Dot, like just teams that like seem like an offensive juggernaut, and then they add Freddie Freeman, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what? That's not
Yeah.
fair. So I feel like when I think about teams like that, I'm like, those are better than the '93 Blue Jays, but the Mets have had some stupid rosters in the last couple
Yeah.
years. Um, even the Padres with like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. and then they add Juan Soto to the mix, and it's like,
But Whamco was potent. Like, that's the thing to remember too. Some folks
yeah,
forget John Olerud was such a engine to that offense. He hit 400 until August 2nd. Like, think about that. He hit 400 until August.
yeah. Okay, well here, how's this? So when you put the asterisk of teams that won the World Series,
Mhm.
right? Then you go 1999. That's a hard word to say. 1993 Blue Jays, right? But I'm on MLB.com/standings/1993, and I'm looking at the standings on October 3rd at the end of the season, and I'm looking at total runs scored. Blue Jays aren't even a top 5 offense in
That
1993,
year.
right? Like Detroit Tigers, 899. Philadelphia Phillies, 877. Like, okay, they are top 5. They're third though, but
Yeah.
they won the World Series, so that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I don't know who was on the fucking Detroit Tigers in 1993, but apparently they were more
Miguel
offensively
Cabrera?
talented
No, I'm
than.
kidding. I'm kidding.
He's 1,000 years old, right? I think he was a rookie. No. Yeah, so that's something to look into. So we're saying World Series winners. Look at the World Series
World Series
winners.
winners. Where
Yeah.
does Whamco line up in baseball history? Would love to hear from you, the grounds crew. Let's leave it at that.
Over under 5 Yankees teams make your top 10 list.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's at least 5 probably.
Yeah, there probably
World
is
Series
5 in the
winners that
top
were
10. Yeah,
Yankees. There are
yeah.
probably 4 of them have Derek Jeter on the lineup. So no, I don't know. Okay,
Okay,
that's been
so
the mailbag.
we are going to end here, and Adam, I didn't bounce this off you before doing it.
Motherfucker.
I'm not really comfortable getting into it, but I do feel it should be acknowledged that our enemy of the show,
Mm.
number one, our good friend Trevor Freeman, Was a regular on the show. He made more appearances on the walk-off than almost anybody. He has helped us right from day one with getting into the baseball world. He set us up with numerous different interviews and folks who have helped us along the way. He's been battling cancer and wound up losing that battle last weekend, leaving behind his wife Carlene and his little boy Lincoln. And we just want to say, shout out to Trevor Freeman, just a gem of a human, a real good guy. Couldn't have done this podcast without his help and support. And yeah, so all the best to the Freeman family, and just a bummer.
Yep, absolutely. Number one enemy of the show, Trevor Freeman.
Always number one enemy of the show right here. All right. Yep. All right, gang. Take care. All the best. We'll see you on Friday.
Good morning, Patreon. It is Tuesday, 11:07 on the calendar. It is 9:55 on the clock. I am Adam. You are you. And we are waiting for Scott. So Scott will be here shortly. In the meantime, we are live-ish. Live is in recording, not live is in live. Stream of consciousness for this morning. These things, like honey dippers, I just wanted to share something I learned last night. Sorry. The webcam is reversed. It's not a mirror. It's showing like way for you. So when I move it this way, it's the opposite of what I see on the screen. I'm trying to hold this in front of the mic so you could see these honey dippers. You always see them in like the cereal commercials, right? They're drizzling honey over the cornflakes or whatever. I have always wondered, like, why do you have to use one of these? Why can't you just use a spoon to do the scooping and drizzling? But what I learned is the way that these are designed is honey fills these little grooves, right? And you scoop it in, you get a big old glob of honey on here. And then as long as you keep spinning it, I don't know if you could see, but I am rotating it. The honey will just cling to this round surface, fill the grooves. So you can dunk it in your honey pot, I almost said honey jar, your honey pot. And then you just keep spinning while you carry it over to your coffee mug. And then as soon as you stop spinning, it doesn't have to be like a fast spin, just enough movement so that that glob on the bottom is constantly getting wrapped back up to the top or at least to the side. So you just have to spin just enough movement, and you can even go back and forth, right? Like you don't have to do a all in the same direction. Just enough twisting back and forth, little movement all the way one way, all the way the other way. And then as soon as you stop, then it drips. So get a big old gob from your honey jar, honey pot, carry it over to your coffee, and then you stop spinning once you're above it. And now it finally lets go, drips into your coffee. Once you've had enough added to your coffee, you start spinning it again. Yeah, okay. And now it wraps itself around. I don't know what this is called. Here I am learning about how to use this, and I don't know what it's called. But you start the spinning again, it stops dripping, and now you can transport it back to your honey pot, stick it in there, and away you go. So there's no mess. So I guess because it's that round shape, it just works better than if you've been using honey with a spoon this whole time. You're familiar with this technique anyways, right? You dip your spoon in, get a big old gob, and then you've got to do that spin, right? You flip it upside down so that that little tail that's hanging off, that's clinging down, you wrap that around. So you've already been doing the move, but this works better for that. So there's my piece of knowledge that I learned last night and wanted to share with you this morning. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. Um, what else do we got? Scott just texted me. Ooh, look at this. Frick, sorry, dude. I'll be ready in like 15 minutes. Aiming to be on at 10:10, just brewing coffee. So you got 10 more minutes of me. 10 more minutes of me. Cool. Lucky you. In which case, I'm gonna share some more stories for everybody. If you're not interested, skip ahead 10 minutes from wherever you're at. Um, okay, so I play Fortnite with my kid. She's 12. Um, Free game. I have a thing against spending money on parking. I have a thing against spending money on free games. Um, I have a thing against when I'm gaming, um, especially paying for it. But sometimes there's just like a feature that allows you to like, hey, if you sacrifice whatever, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's experience points, whatever, in-game gold, whatever. If you sacrifice such a this, you can skip ahead 5 levels. I want to play more of the game, not less of the game. So just on like principle, I can never bring myself to do that. Um, so Fortnite, free game. Uh, you've probably heard of it. If you haven't, welcome to planet Earth. Um, Enjoy your stay. Um, so you can buy the battle pass for like $10. And then over the course of the month, as you level up and progress, you unlock more stuff. Outfits for your character, weapons, paint jobs for your gun, whatever. Of course, that's how they make their money. Did you know Fortnite has made launched in 2016, and in the what are we on now? 7 years since, it has made $26 billion in profit. That's a lot of money for a free game. 230 million active monthly users who are statistically playing on average of 6 to 10 hours a week. That's almost 2 hours a day, 5 days a week from 230 million people. So that's where they're getting their 26 billion from, is all those folks. I try to not spend money. Battle Pass. You can buy the regular Battle Pass, which unlocks all of the potential upgrades as you, not upgrades. There's no advantage to having any of the different costumes or paint jobs on the guns. The guns don't shoot better. You're not faster with any of the different characters. It's just a cool cosmetic feature. So you can play Fortnite as Darth Vader or as Batman or as whatever. Regular battle pass, like $10. Premium battle pass is like $20, $17. I'm not familiar with the exact price because I've never been tempted to buy it. But all it is the regular old battle pass, but you get a bonus bump of 25 levels. So if you're level 1 and you get this battle pass, now you're level 26. If you're level 50 already, now you're level 75, which again, I don't want to pay money to play less of the game. So no thanks. However, if you are so inclined to do that option, I think you're best off waiting till the end of the battle pass is almost there, play it through, and then get that option. Because the experience required, and AKA the time it takes to level up from level 1 to 25, you might be able to do that in like one day. You're just gaming for like 8 hours, you probably do that in one day. But to go from level 75 to 100 might take a week and a half. So by getting the battle pass that boosts you ahead 25 levels, if you're worried that you can't get to level 100 by the end of the battle pass anyways, because it only runs for a month, you're better off just playing for free for the first 27 days. Get as high a level as you can, and then at the last minute, buy the battle pass. Because retroactively, you still unlock all those uh, skins and outfits and whatever that you would have unlocked if you had the battle pass as you leveled up. Plus, you'll get those last 25 levels, which take longer to get. Anyways. So I don't like spending money on that. Then yesterday, day before, there's like an online store. Again, if you are familiar with Fortnite, my apologies if I'm over explaining this. But there is a daily store in the game that updates every 24 hours with new costumes, new outfits that you can just buy outside of the battle pass. These are usually themed to whatever's going on. So, like October was very Halloween heavy, spooky monsters, um, skeletons, pumpkin themed stuff, zombies, vampires, ghouls. Um, but yeah, Monday was a Stranger Things day in the store. So there was 11, there was Hopper, there was the Demogorgon, there was Steve's bat, like with the baseball bat with the nails through it. My kid has wanted the Demogorgon for a year. The girl from her hockey team that she plays with all the time, she has the Demogorgon. My kid loves Stranger Things, is always super jealous whenever her friend is wearing the Demogorgon outfit. She's so pissed that she doesn't have it. So, my kid's at her mom's this week. I tune into the store. I see, oh snap, the Demogorgon is back. So, Demogorgon, Hopper, 11, and then a couple other like weird Stranger Things. But those were the ones that I was interested in specifically. Um, so I bought enough V-Bucks, the in-game currency. I gifted my daughter the Demogorgon and Steve's bat. I also bought myself a Demogorgon and Steve's bat. And I bought myself Hopper. And then I gifted my daughter 11. But I did it in such a way where I gifted her the Demogorgon and Steve's bat from my account. And then I logged into her account so that the notification that, hey, dad just gifted you something has gone away. So the Demogorgon is now just like there's no notifications that it's new. It's just like discreetly in her collection of things. Then I logged back into my account and I purchased the skin as a gift for her for 11, which is her favorite character, which 2 Halloweens ago, her and I dressed up as Hopper and 11. So we have a whole thing there. There's a whole sentimental backstory to that. So when she gets back from her mom's, she's going to want to play Fortnite and I'll play Fortnite. She's going to log in. She's going to get the notification that dad bought her the 11 skin. She's going to be so excited and so happy. And then I'm going to get to play as Hopper and we'll be Hopper and 11. It'll be really cute. And I got to sneeze. So hold on. I'm sure that face was a rewindable moment. But then I also text from my wife. When you have time, could you go get the heated blanket for me from the basement? I don't want to go around Pops till I know for sure I'm negative because I know that's stressful for him. Oh, my wife woke up with a sore throat. And now, by the way, I'm sneezing. Um, my wife works with babies at the NICU. And the baby that she was working with a couple days ago was positive for COVID. So she came home from work on the last day. It's like, I think I might have COVID. Now she has a sore throat. Now I'm sneezing. My dad is staying with us. He doesn't want COVID, although he does have his boosters. So Scott's here, so I'm going to let him in. Then I'm going to go get that heated blanket. And he can talk to you while I'm getting the heated blanket. And then we'll continue. Anyways, that's the Fortnite story. My daughter's in for a surprise. She's going to be really excited when she sees that she has 11. And then I got that for her. And then she's going to be really pissed when I switch my character to be the Demogorgon. Because she's going to be like, oh, you got the Demogorgon too? I'll be like, and I'll just play dumb as if like, yeah, sorry, like I didn't know you wanted it. And then she'll just like casually, maybe that night, maybe that a couple days later, be scrolling through her outfits and she'll see that she has the Demogorgon too. She'll be like, oh my God, my dad is the best. Oh, he loves me so much. So, anyways, long story short, I spent like $49 on Fortnite this week, and I'm really disappointed in myself. So, okay, Scott's almost here. He's almost here. He's logging in. You can see that. If you're watching,
Hey, buddy.
you can see that he's logged. Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Good. I think my whole house has COVID.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have COVID, but my wife came home from work the other day and was like the baby that I was taking care of was positive for COVID. And then this morning she woke up really sore throat. She asked me to go get her a COVID test. I haven't gone yet because I've been doing my due diligence here.
Yes.
But I was live just before you joined and I caught myself sneezing and then realized, fuck, I probably have COVID too. That was probably a COVID sneeze. So,
Oh, man. I
so
blame Halloween, not that
oh,
baby.
no, I know that baby should have gone as a COVID negative kid for Halloween. Anyways, I gotta go down to the basement and get her the heated blanket because she doesn't want to go down there because my dad's down there and she doesn't want to give him COVID. But we're in one atmosphere of circulating air, so he either has it or
Okay.
he doesn't. So you talk to Patreon. I gotta go get a heated blanket. We'll just call this the
Okay.
I gotta check on my dog segment, and you know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I was on the red eye flight from Edmonton into Halifax today, and my brain is not fully functioning yet. I had to start a few minutes late here. Adam gave me some leeway as I try and drive some caffeine into me. So I'm at my buddy Neil's place right now. Huge Jays fan, one of my best buddies from way back in the day here. He's been a good pal for like 15 years, and we'll go on baseball trips here and there. So I'm in a very comfortable Blue Jays welcoming place. You can see he has the Blue Jays mug already out for me. I get in and he buzzes me into the apartment. He had to go to work. He's working at Good Robot, which, by the way, if you're watching this and you're in Halifax, I have a show at Good Robot Brewery on Thursday. It's always a gem of a show. So come out, say hello, that sort of thing. But yeah, I got in this morning and buzzed him in, and he already had coffee made for me. He had the little dongle so that I could get in and out of the apartment. Just the red carpet has been rolled out.
I was listening to that, and I enjoyed that.
Yes,
Good
there.
old Neil.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Should we go over these
Yes.
mailbag questions?
So
By the
still,
way, I was thinking about it, man. Like, we should just lean into jokingly mocking the algorithm all the time. Like, if
I think
it's
so
gonna give us
too.
that many more, like, fuck it. Like, it's so ridiculous that we could be like, you'll never believe what they're doing now. Dot dot dot.
I think it's great because everybody seems to be responding to it positively.
Yeah, they're getting that we're
So,
not just yeah,
well, I mean,
making
the
fun of them.
regulars who know us will just stick around and be like, yeah, okay, it's just these schmohawks being idiots.
Yeah.
It's all good. And then anybody who's like, oh, these guys fucking sneaky clickbait, and we'll just leave and we'll be like, we didn't want you anyways, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. Exactly.
That's great.
I even loved some of the comments where I think the one was like, I think this is the shot at Blue Jays Digest that they do a good job. And I'm like, Blue Jays Digest does do a great job. I love their stuff.
I do
And
too.
they do
They're
completely do I mean, they know how to tag and stuff their videos to get as many views as possible, which is the game on YouTube. So like it's not
no,
a
for
shot at
sure.
them. They just do it well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a little bit of a shot because I'm bitter and jaded,
Yes.
but as
Yeah.
far as content goes, I like them. I like them way better than like just on like a personal level. Uh,
Yeah.
the guys from Blue Jays Digest. I'm like, oh yeah, I could have a beer with them at the airport. I'd be like, nah, I'll catch the next flight. Like